Hello, investigators, and welcome to Until the End of Time. My name is Werner, and we're live, I hope. So, everybody in the chat, can you hear me? Can you see me? Everything working? This is the first time I'm doing a live stream, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So, I hope everything's working. Please let me know in the chat if there's something. I'm live, can hear, excellent. So, I'm doing something I think pretty special. I'm going to talk all about what it is, what we're doing, what the rules are in a minute. But before I do that, there's somebody in the chat who's been staying up apparently all night trying to get their weaknesses drawn live, and that's Nina Yang. So before I go any further, I'm just going to quickly show you your weaknesses. In order, first of all, for Min, Nihilism. For Agnes, Reckless. And for Stella Clark, the best investigator in the game, but you all knew that already. The one that came in her own pack. I actually... Athiophobia? I think that's probably wrong. I think it's Greek, but I don't think my Greek's that good. I hope you got him. Nina, you got all that? Hope that's your first name. And now with that out of the way, let's talk about what we're actually doing. So, yeah, Stella is... yes, they are. They are handpicked. I pulled all the weaknesses. Well, I guess you now know Bernard's in the bottom, but I grabbed all the weaknesses from my collection, which means I'm going to have to sort them all in a minute, which is really annoying, but doesn't matter. They're on my desk. I'm shuffling them. I'm pulling from them, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing for the next couple of hours is pulling random weaknesses for people in the chat who are playing along. But first, let's talk about what this whole thing is about, because that's kind of important. And to do that, I'm going to make sure everything is working. If I go to this, that seems about right. Well, let's do this. So, what is the Arkham Horror Campaign Play-Along? Basically, I had this idea that with everything going on right now, COVID and all that stuff, there's no conventions happening. And that's a shame because I think the Arkham Horror community is one of the best gaming communities I've ever been part of. I love it. I think it's very inclusive. I think it's very friendly. I think it's very helping and welcoming. And I think that there is happiness and joy and friendship and everything happening in that community, which is one of the things that we need really badly during this pandemic, during this time of, everybody staying isolated and that sort of thing. And so, I know that there's an Iron Man event. That's something that the Mythos Busters do, where they play through an entire campaign in a weekend, and it's absolutely insane, or in a day, I think even. But what if we just wanted to do it a little bit easier, a little bit more manageable, but still have that community experience of playing together while we're apart? And so the campaign play-along was born. The idea is that everybody plays the same campaign that was voted on in the Mythos Busters Discord, which is Dunwich. That voting is already closed, so if you're just now hearing about this now, the voting has already closed. I'm sorry, you can get in for the next one. As far as I'm concerned, there's going to be a next one. And we are going to play one scenario a week. Everybody plays at the same pace. Everybody uses the same modified card pool, so there's a limited card pool that you can use to build decks. And we discuss our stories. We discuss what happens, how our decks are working, what we would upgrade, all that sort of things. And so far it has been incredibly successful, I think. I've already got over 60 signups, which I think is quite a lot. And I'm super excited for it. Now, before I go any further, let me check real quick. Doesn't look like there's anything in the chat happening, so I'll just keep explaining. One of the first things that I really want to stress is that this is not a competition. There's no prizes for winning. There's not even really any winning to be done. Please keep it in that cooperative spirit rather than the competitive spirit, right? There are plenty of competitive card games out there. I'm celebrating Arkham for its cooperation and community rather than any kind of who is the best. So that is definitely intended to be a non-competitive event. Likewise, all the rules are mostly on the survivor base of, try and try again. These rules are not perfect. I don't think they are written perfectly. I don't think they cover all the bases. And the main point here is that if you have feedback, there are various ways to reach me. Please do let me know. I can't promise that I'll do anything with every bit of feedback, but I am going to try to listen to all of it and see if I can adjust the rules. Now let's talk about the main premise of the rules as they are, which is the deck building part. So as part of this, to make it a bit more unique, I decided, what if we had a limited card pool? Now this card pool always consists out of the core set, the 5 Investigator starter decks, and then only the campaign and the 6 Mythos packs of the campaign being played. I'm also including the Return to the Night of the Zealot and the Return to box that goes with the campaign. Those are not really necessary, and I personally think that if you don't have them, there's no reason to get them just to play the campaigns, but they are included mostly because, if you already have them, they're nice to add. Good night, Nina. And so what this means is that you can only build your decks using the cards from those boxes. Now, important to note, you're not limited to the number of copies you find in one box. So let's say you are trying to play with medical text from the core set. That's a terrible secret card. And everybody in your party, in your group, decides that, no, we're going to play 2 copies of medical text, and you have 8 copies of medical text. That's perfectly fine. The only rule, and you still do have to listen to the rule that says you can only have 2 copies of a card in your deck, so it's not like you can put 8 copies of medical text in your own deck. But the important part is here, if you're playing on, say, Tabletop Simulator, which I know a lot of people are going to do, there's nothing stopping you from all having the same cards in your deck. That's perfectly fine. There are also 2 exceptions. The first is the Investigators. I've decided you can use any Investigators, and of course the signature cards, from the entire card pool. That means that if you want to play Tony Morgan, who was in Dream Eaters, I think it's Dream Eaters, now I'm double checking, he can be played in Dunwich. That's perfectly fine. The reason for that is kind of the same. It's like if you are a new player, then, and you maybe do have the Dream Eaters expansion, you're like, I really want to play this Tony, I think he's really cool. You can. You just have to build his deck using the cards from Dunwich. And that's actually a bit of the reasoning behind why this limited card pool. It's to make it easier for new players to join. I know that there's a lot of new players, surprisingly many during the pandemic, because I've been seeing new players come in the Arkham Discord. And by and large, those players aren't able to get everything. There's a supply and logistic issues. So if you do happen to have the Dunwich campaign, and you maybe have a few boxes here and there you manage to get together, then you can build a deck using just the Dunwich campaign, the starter decks, and whatever Investigators you have, and play this campaign, and I hope you'll have a great time. Likewise, if you are an experienced player, see this as a challenge, right? You're probably used to building decks from the entire card pool. I know I am. And this is a new experience, something that we haven't really done before. See if it works. One last thing about basic weaknesses. So I'm doing the random basic weakness pool live. You can also, of course, do it yourself. You can choose whether you want to have only basic weaknesses from the card pool or from the entire card pool, or something else if you really want to. I'll get back to this later, but really these rules are more suggestions than ironclad. They're meant to make a nice community experience. If you want to play with Darkened Hull Investigators, I'm not going to stop you. I don't know where you live, and even if I did, I'd probably just come over to sit down and play Arkham. So I'm not here to start a fight, but if you are choosing to only pick weaknesses from the card pool or from a specific set, let that know in the comments, talk about it. It's all fine, right? It's all fun and games. Yeah, and I think that about covers it for the deck building, unless people in the chat have questions, but I'm hoping with yes, with there is actually already one team of Barkham Horror Investigators signed up. I have checked that, and they are in there, so it's gonna be fun. Yeah, you did make it. All right, moving up. Playing the campaign, I think this is fairly self-evident. Basically, we play one scenario a week. There's no penalty for falling behind because it's not a competition, but please don't play ahead. And also, if you are falling behind, don't spend a lot of time in the chat talking about the scenario that everybody else already finished like 4 weeks ago. But otherwise, just play Arkham. It's for fun. That's the whole point of this. It's not to have, super long rules and everything. That's going against the thing. So starting with the first campaign, Dunwich Legacy, starts today. It will go for 8 weeks. It's a bit of a weird one because Dunwich, of course, has 2 scenario 1s, so you have to pick yourself which one you want to go. If you just do both right now, which I imagine some teams will do, that's fine. Just don't go to Miskatonic Museum before April 24th, because that's when we officially go to week 3. If you are looking to deck build, there's a handy dandy little search query here that you can use, or this if you want to do it that way. These are all the cards that you can use, and I want to shout out the hashtag CPATDL as your kind of hashtag for this whole event. You can use this in your deck title to make it clear that you are participating in this, and hopefully show everybody in ArkhamDB that they're massively missing out by not playing along. I'm seeing more and more people joining in. This is awesome. Thank you, everybody. Some quick FAQs. Yes, you can play every Investigators. If you want to play Darkened Hull Investigators, I'm going to give you the same answer Maxine did, which is you're not supposed to use them in regular campaigns, but I'm not going to stop you. And there's already a team HP Wolfcraft, so, you know, it's too late anyway. And one important thing, you can play side stories, because again, the whole point of this is to have fun and play Arkham. And I didn't want to stop people from playing Arkham. That being said, if you do that, maybe make sure to mentally note that and say that out loud when you're discussing experience and difficulty, because, you know, if you've played 3 side stories, you might end up a little bit ahead of other teams who, you know, especially if you're playing Dunwich, you might not get as much XP, and it's not unfair, because the whole point is that it's not a competition, but it is nice that in the discussion there aren't people saying, oh yeah, you know, I ended with 50 XP, but you also played 4 side stories. Please no stories or side stories though. No, that would be nice. Try to keep spoilers to a minimum. Okay, so that was all the rules. Unless anybody has any very pressing questions in the chat, I'm going to go back to this screen with my face on it. I'm just going to check the chat real quick, wait for it to catch up, while I open all the other thingamajays. Now, what is next? Well, Pokemaster, do you want me to draw your basic weaknesses? Because that's what's about to happen. So if you want me to, say it in the chat right now, because I will, and I'll put you to the front of the line if you have to leave. What we're going to do now is the drawing of the random basic weaknesses. This is a thing that Mythos Busters do for the Iron Man event, and I thought, why not just steal what they're doing and do it the same way, because, you know, whatever. They don't have a loan right to that, monopoly in that. So what I'm going to be asking you is, if you're in the chat right now and you would like me to draw your random basic weaknesses, you have to say the following things: the name of your team, how many investigators are in your team, so I know how many weaknesses to draw, and what card pool to pull from. Now, the easy ones are just full card pool, in which case I just grab the stack and pull whatever I get. Or you want to say only the Dunwich Legacy and the core set, something like that, or maybe with the return boxes in there. In which case I'm going to start pulling until I hit something, because I don't want to spread them out, shuffle, that doesn't work. So basically, post that in the chat right now, and I'm going to start pulling. And I also have a couple in the notepads from people on Discord, so I'll be putting those in there as well. And I expect to be pulling for a little bit. So, yeah, let's do this. If you don't remember the name of your team, it's worth saying if you go into the doc, and I'll see if I can post the doc again, and scroll about halfway through, you can see the results of the query. Of the form that I asked the signups, and you can actually just check your own team name. You should probably be able to find it in there. Are taboo rules in place? Oh, that's actually a good question. I hope that's in the document. If not, I'll have to add it. Taboo rules are as optional as always. You can choose to use the taboo rules, or you can choose not to. That's up to you. Let's see. Well, starting at the top, I have Pauli asking for Team Spirit, which is a great name. Calvin and Nathaniel. Entire carpool except for return to TFA. So if I do hit my return to TFA weaknesses, I guess you are excused. If I hit Doomed, though, you're not excused. So Team Spirit. For the first one, for Calvin. Calvin is obsessive. Put it in the player threat area when your turn begins. Oh, that's very shiny. Discard one non-weakness card at random from your hand. Double action declared. That's fine. Just have to ask Nathaniel to clear it for you. And oh boy, Nathaniel is of course overzealous. We got it, people. We got him out of the way early. If you want me to redraw your weaknesses because you think they're really bad, you can try to bribe me in the chat, I guess. So that's Pauli with Team Spirit. And next up, I see Filian with Nacho Daisy. Sounds delicious. So first up for another Nathaniel, I guess, we have... actually, hold on, I need to check. Notice the Dunwich starters weaknesses. This is not one of those, so we'll start drawing into... Well, got one. That's a Dread Curse. Do you have return to... Filion, you have return to? I guess I'll just keep drawing. Ooh, that's a nice one to get out of the way. So I'm just throwing all the ones that aren't matching into a discard pile. Oh, returns yes. Perfect. Okay, in that case, well, I guess I know what your two weaknesses are. I'll just have to get this one back. So, Filion, for your Nathaniel, you have Psychosis. Whenever you take horror, take a direct damage. That's less bad than the other one, because he doesn't like taking horror that much. And for your Daisy, please go through the gates. Alright, moving on from that one, we have Gary Weston, hope I'm saying that right, $25 a day plus expenses, solo Joe Diamond, full deck of weaknesses. Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to get paid up front because you're indebted. So that was for Gary, aka Theophilus, on the Discord. For the Dunwich Connection, Frag1981, full carpool, doesn't know which investigators you had, but two weaknesses. Well, your first weakness is going to be an accursed follower. That's interesting. You get to play with the curse cards in a carpool that has no curse interaction. And your second weakness is the 13th Vision. Checking the chat, I see the Spectre Watcher has joined us. Okay, Spectre Watcher wants me to draw for Stella and her fella, which is Nathaniel. A lot of Nathaniels coming in. I guess that's because he's probably the best guardian with the card pool that we have, because he has access to all his events and his boxing gloves, because they're in his pack. I can talk about that a little bit, by the way, once I've got up on chat and all the weaknesses about the decision. Regardless, Stella has Hypochondria. That's fine. Stella likes taking horror. Wait, there's no fight or flight in the card pool. Oh no! I have to unlearn that. I have to unlearn Stella always wanted to take horror. And her fella has the tower. How bad is that? I guess if you don't play a lot of skills, you're playing events. It's very expensive though. You didn't want me to draw for Gloria, so that's fine. HP Wolfcraft, you're here! Alright, time for some very funny weaknesses, hopefully. Duke, Bark Harrigan, Schizodrule, and Jacqueline K9 in the following order. We have Duke, who is accosted by a Silver Twilight Acolyte. Ooh, that's a nasty one. So that's for Duke. For Bark Harrigan, we have Overzealous, which is of course very fitting. We have for Schizodrule the internal injury. Oh no, he must have been running too hard. And for Jacqueline K9, another internal injury. I guess that runs in the family. Just gonna check. Fillion's gonna pass out now. Good luck. Please no Doomed. Please no Doomed. I haven't seen the Doomed yet. It's still in there. Yes, all the weaknesses are in the same stack. So everything I've already discarded is in here. But I've also discarded a couple that you haven't seen because they were for specific card pools. So I know where some of the weaknesses are, and I do know I think that there's still a Doomed in here. Nina, didn't you say you were going to go to bed? Okay, let me check. Let's see, I did HP Wolfcraft. Team Chaos Crew 2. We would like to restrict our weaknesses to Cord, Dunwich, and the 2 return twos for Ashken, Pete, and Zoe. No starter decks, I'm assuming then. Well, that's one. Well, I mean, I would call you lucky, but I don't think you're that lucky. The first one, Ashken Pete, has Amnesia, which is a pretty bad one for him, because he probably doesn't want to be discarding all his cards when you don't have Madame Lagrange. And Zoe has Paranoia, which costs all our resources. So I think you got a little burn on that one. If you want to redraw, let me know, because that was a pretty oof one, yeah. Let's see. Weakness for Silas, for Wester. I think that's the latest one. I haven't seen anything else. Oh, I missed Trilof's Ursula was before Spectral Watcher. So this next one is going to be for Wester. And after that, it's going to be for Trilof. Yeah, okay. So this one is for Wester. It's an accursed follower. Let me check if that's indeed allowed. Yeah, for Silas. Again, playing with curse outside of the circle or the Intimate Conspiracy card pool. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. And then we'll just no redraws will just die. I mean, that's very honorable. And then for Trilof, Ursula, you wanted full collection. Well, you get some Cardophobia. I guess if you're going very fast, that's not so bad. Although you do now have 2 weaknesses in your deck that both deal horror to you, so maybe back some Horror Choke. Is there any Horror Choke in the card pool? There's the Elder Sign Amulet. Sergey V. Popov. I see we are Dunswinski. I just want to check if you are asking for for me to draw your weaknesses. Please let me know how many weaknesses and from which card pool as well. Don't just say your team name. I can't go looking everything up. It will take too long. Yeah, the Portogs are not doing so well. I did see from Sully for Troop Toby 2 weaknesses from the whole pool. Well, your first investigator is going to have self-destructive problems. And your second is going to have, there's the other Amnesia. There's only 2 of them in there. There's also, I think, still a Doomed in there. So let me check. Is there still a Doomed in there? Let me just, oh yeah, that's definitely still in there. Also, a lot of the multiplayer weaknesses are still in there. So hoping to get that one. Dunswinski, we have Mark, Norman, Jacqueline, and Stella. Alright, whole card pool or just specific card pool? Better than Doomed, yeah. That's true. Like, the Doomed's still in there, and I'm now shuffling to make sure that I don't know where the Doomed is, and you don't know either. I guess Dunswinski now has to decide whether they want to roll the Doomed. Well, you're rolling the Doomed dice. So first up for Mark, the thing that follows. That's not so bad. It's only a 2-health enemy. You're probably going to draw into it multiple times, because he has a lot of draw, but on the other hand, plenty of weapons in Guardian to kill that with. For Norman... There it is. Ooh, that's probably a problem. I guess you're going to build Norman with very little card draw, but even with his ability, that's probably just going to kill you. If you want me to redraw, let me know. For Jacqueline, Stubborn Detective. You're getting a couple of enemy weaknesses. That's funny. No using Jacqueline's ability to kill that one. And finally, Stella's Haunted. Perfect. It's an upgrade. It makes you stronger. Yeah, rip. Well, I'm almost through the stack. Still got a couple left. I think most of the multiplayer ones are still in here. Oh, no. Apparently not. I guess I discarded them. One multiplayer one left in there, though. Okay, I think I've caught up on the chat for a bit. If you didn't get a draw yet and I missed you somehow, please do just keep post again in chat. I'll check up. But while I'm here, I'm going to talk about a couple ones that were requested beforehand who knew they probably weren't going to be able to make the stream. Team Faded Potato would like to be included in the weakness draw, but then I didn't write down how many weaknesses they wanted, and I feel a little silly about that. So, oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, 2 weaknesses. Perfect. Okay. 2 weaknesses for Team Faded Potato. Dread Curse, adding 5 curse tokens to the Chaos bag. And Narcolepsy. Hey, fall asleep. I really like this weakness. I think it's really funny. It's a lot less bad if you're not doing a lot of draws during your turn. So, naturally, it's pretty bad if you play a Seeker. Next up, there are This Restaurant team. This restaurant gets terrible reviews. 1 for Rex and 1 for Zoe. Well, for Rex, we have Paranoia. Goodbye to all your money, Rex. And for Zoe, we have Self-Centered. No helping other people. Probably the worst on a Guardian, so... But then again, Zoe just wants to be stabbing people, right? So not that bad. Busking for resources, using only core, starters, and Dunwich. And of course, I should probably check how many. Poor Norman is doomed. Yeah, poor Norman is super doomed. If I'm not mistaken, the team Chaos Chrome 2 already got their weaknesses drawn, right? Because I see here a message on Discord, but I think I already drew for you a little bit ago, right? No, wait, that's the wrong one. Busking for resources wants true solo. Oh, true solo. Okay, the weakness pile is getting shuffled. So alright, I need to wait until core plus starters. Well, starters are included, so your solo deck has Reckless as their weakness. I'm not sure if there was a... Oh, Pete. Or Duke, possibly. Not sure if you're playing with the Barkham cards now or not, which is a little funny. Team Laziness for Forgotten Age... who wanted specifically Forgotten Age and Carcosa, so they didn't want to get from the Witch. Hey, Spectre Watcher, gotta go now. Catch playthrough later. Sounds good. Hope you have fun playing. Like, I'm about to start playing, but don't forget that, you know, most of this is about you playing. That's not... Actually, that is Forgotten Age. Well, it's Return to Forgotten Age, so maybe that doesn't count. Let me actually check. That's a Carcosa one. That's a really fun Carcosa one. Let's see. Yeah, so this... they specifically requested only Carcosa and Forgotten Age, and like, why not? Sounds fun. But of course, that does limit the card pool slightly. Oh, well, you maybe wish you hadn't, because it turns out Carcosa and Forgotten Age are some of the worst ones. Anybody want to guess what the two weaknesses are? They're the worst weakness from Carcosa and the worst weakness from TFA. And we've already seen one of... I think we've already seen both of them several times, so... Post in the chat. Guess now. What's the worst weakness from TFA? What's the worst weakness from Carcosa? For Team Laziness. Doomed and overzealous. Well, Nina has it completely correct. It's doomed and overzealous. So, yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how that goes. I'm curious. I mean, I guess at that point you're just hoping that all the discard from the top of your deck cards in Treacheries, they just get rid of the your weaknesses, because otherwise I think you're just dying. Yeah, no, Overzealous is from Carcosa. So that's fun. Uke Duo, playing Skids and Min, wants to draw weaknesses from the entire card pool. First weakness for Skids, a stubborn detective. Makes sense. He's an ex-criminal. There's probably somebody after him. And Min is haunted. Spooky. Alright, I'm going to probably pause for a little bit, or not pause, but I'm going to not draw weaknesses until more people come in. I think I've got through everything. I've gotten through all the list of people who were asking me on Discord. I've gotten through the chat. Overzealous is Carcosa. TFA had all the weaknesses that upgrade into other weaknesses. Carcosa has just Overzealous. Let's just kick in the door. What could go wrong? So, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, the card pool, what I'm doing, like a little bit of rationale behind it, because I have actually thought about it. Spoiler alert. And so one of the big things here is that I wanted to basically maximize the options for people while still making it a little bit more graspable for new players. And I know that you can't scare me, I can't read. Sorry, somebody in chat posted very funny comment about Doomed. Do you want me to explain what Doom does? Because trust me, there's no going back. But yeah. The reason why I picked the carpool I did is that I think just Corset is too limited of a base pool for a lot of decks. You can't build a lot of strategies don't work if you only have Corset as your base. And one of the big examples here is Mystics. If you try to play a Mystic with just Corset plus Carcosa, you don't really have any way to get clues reliably. I think even for TFA plus Corset, Mystics have it rough. I haven't drawn for my Stella yet. But on the other hand, doing multiple campaigns gets complicated very quickly because, I wanted to make one card pool for everybody. I didn't want it to be like, oh, you can pick one campaign plus the campaign we're playing and then you have two campaigns, but that, people start picking different campaigns, it gets very complicated. And the starter decks provide a very nice kind of middle ground where the Jacqueline starter pack, for example, has every spell you'll ever need for a Mystic to do the basic things with. You can have an evade spell, a fight spell, and an investigate spell. So even though the diversity of decks gets, shrink down a bit, it doesn't mean that suddenly a whole bunch of investigators just aren't really all that good anymore. And I wanted to avoid that. I wanted to be able to do as much as possible. On top of that, the choice to do every investigator is kind of the inverse, where it's like everybody just plays whatever investigators they have access to, whatever investigators they like, and it means that everybody can try the strategies they enjoy. And this is kind of where new players who maybe have an incomplete collection, which they can't complete because of COVID and logistics delay, do have access to more cards than just one campaign. And they can grab investigators from other campaigns that they've really enjoyed to play in this kind of smaller environment. And that's, hopefully a step up in like how to deck build. If you're not used to deck building yourself or haven't deck built that much, this is hopefully a card pool that's small enough that you can figure out, how to build decks in it much easier. And it's also the kind of card pool where you could reasonably put it on a desk and just pick up all cards until at some point you have 30 cards remaining. But also deep enough and interesting enough that it doesn't just, build itself, basically. Because I did want to have a little bit of deck building in there. So, yeah, that was kind of the rationale behind the whole card pool. It's also based on the startup format in Netrunner that's starting right now. If you have played Netrunner in the past and you haven't heard of Nisei yet, they're a fan community that's continuing that game. It's really good. Go check it out. Nisei.net, Nisei.com, I don't know off the top of my head, but definitely go look them up. It's really cool. Gary's saying that the limited card pool is what drew me in. It's a fun challenge without being impossible. Awesome, that means it's working. And Flower Flag saying that if I do this in future playthroughs, I should maybe add a wild card to look spec we can add cards from as well. I have thought about that. I figured for the first time we should probably, keep it a little on the same side, but I definitely had some ideas about how to spice it up. People could pick one card from any deluxe and play it because they have it, and then you could see which people or what cards people pick as their spicy include. Yeah, starters make it work. That's very true. I don't think this idea works if you don't have the starters or some other like central concept, and I think that's just proof to FFG that they just made a very good project with the starters. I'm just gonna jump into chat real quick. Now, I'm about to start my own playthrough. I think I will go onto a very short break for that, like 2 or 3 minutes, just to make sure that I have a chance to set up tabletop and grab my deck. Before I do that, though, I know most of you are probably waiting for it. my own random basic weakness. So I'm playing solo Stella. I'll show the deck off in a bit because Stella's the best investigator, and yeah. So for those of you who don't know, actually, that is a running joke. Pretty generous to call it a joke, but it's a comment I've made before. I think Stella is a very good investigator. She's not the best. Spoiler alert. She's probably top of the pack, but not super overpowered, and that's kind of what I like about her. Right? She's not so overpowered that she makes other investigators feel useless, but she can do crazy tricks, and I really enjoy her. Plus, with the investigator starter decks, we have access to most of the very good Stella cards. Lola's the best investigator. Hard agrees, she can take all the good cards. Why wouldn't you play Lola? And then draw a Crisis of Identity and lose all of your best cards. I think Lola is probably better than I personally give her credit to, but she's also so much of a deck building nightmare that I don't really want to play her. But I really should try her one of these days. But if the Yiffian is the best one, if you're playing Preston, that's true. You just get, +1 to all of your stats, and your weakness or your money now doesn't have to go on your inheritance, so you can just get money, which is pretty nice. It's like Preston wants to stay a Yiffian. It's of course pretty problematic that his team doesn't want to stay Yiffians. Okay, so I've shuffled. Just to make sure that everybody knows I'm not just looking through them, making sure that I get the good one. Okay, so I'm going to do the whole card pool. So whatever this is, it's my basic weakness, unless it's a multiplayer only one, because I am playing through solo. It's Dark Pact. Well, that's not a multiplayer only weakness. Let's see what this... I guess I should try to keep it up on screen for a bit. It's not that bad. So it's a 2-cost event weakness, which is kind of neat. I have to deal 2 damage to an investigator at my location to play it, and then it's just discarded. But then if the game ends or I'm eliminated and this is still in my hand, I have to remove it from my deck, search the collection for the price of failure, and add it to my deck. So I either have to hurt my friends, or in this case myself, because I have no friends, or I'm going to get punished for failure. Gatling gun, best investigator. Yeah, that's also nice. Okay, so I'm going to go onto the splash screen for a little bit while I set up the... I don't allow the Yiffian, sorry, that's a scenario-specific card. I have to draw a line somewhere. I guess if anybody's going to play with Body of Yiffian, I guess I can't stop them. They don't have a deck building rules, though, so that's a bit of a problem. Figure that one out. I mean, go nuts. I have no idea what you do with that. I'm going to jump to the splash screen. I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes. Just going to make sure that I have everything set up for tabletop. And I'll be seeing you then. So, see you in about 3 minutes. And we're back. Hello everyone, and hope you're still enjoying until the end of time the campaign play-along for Arkham Horror, starting with the Dunwich Legacy. Now, very quick break, grab some water, and set up the tabletop simulator save with my Stella deck. We'll get to that in a second. Am I back? Can everybody hear me? Just type in chat real quick. And then, before I go any further, there was a request just before the break to do some weakness pulls for Team Food and Magic. Sure, are we back? Not seeing anything. Here he is. Ah, perfect. Okay. Sorry, just had to check. I'm doing this for the first time. There's some technical difficulties possible that I don't even know about, so just want to make sure. Now, Team Food and Magic, Norman and Zoe. The restricted card pool. So the first one is for Norman. It's for the restricted card pool, so I assume that includes the starter decks. If so, then Norman is reckless. Seems like a bad idea at his age to jump out of an airplane, but, you know, I can't stop him. And Zoe has chronophobia, which seems bad. Okay, hope that all works. Hope everybody is enjoying this, and I'm gonna try jumping to Tabletop Simulator and hope nothing breaks. Doesn't look like anything broke. Perfect. So, for those of you who've never used this before, this is Tabletop Simulator. It is probably the way to play Arkham digitally. It's also got cease and desist by FFG, so nobody tell anybody, or maybe Aspedy, I don't actually know. Nobody tell anybody I'm using it. Jokes aside, it is still available. If you go into the Mythos Busters channel, go into online play and ask in kind of slightly roundabout ways. There's sure people who can help you get it. Now, I'm playing Stella Clark, assuming people who've watched the stream before or watched the videos before know who she is, because I talk about her all the time. She's the best investigator. 3 willpower, 2 intellect, 3 combat, 4 agility. After you fail a skill test, take an extra action during this round. Elder Sign effect that turns into an auto-fail, which is the best Elder Sign effect, obviously. Who wants to pass tests? 8 health, 8 sanity. She's an absolute beast. And we are starting with... reading the campaign guide, I guess. Quick note, if you are playing the campaign and you haven't tried out the Arkham Cards app, I do recommend it. It is a really good app. It streamlines all the process. I'm going to be doing things using the campaign guide PDF for now because I am live and I'd like to be able to have people read along, but keep that in mind. It's a really useful app and I highly recommend it. Okay, so campaign guide for the Dunwich Legacy. Their hands is at your throats, yet ye see them not. I'm going to burn this accursed diary, and if you men are wise, you'll dynamite the altar stone with there, pull down all the rings and standing stones in the other hills. Things like that brought down the beings that Whately were so fond of. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Campaign setup. In order to set up the Dunwich Legacy campaign, choose investigators, assemble his or her player deck, done, choose a difficulty level. I'm going to play on standard. I'm playing solo, so I don't want to make it too hard on myself, and I don't think the difference between easy and standard is that big, so standard's fine by me. And assemble Chaos Pack, which there's just a button for that. Okay, Prologue. Dr. Henry Armitage pours himself a glass of Pinot and sits down at his desk, gesturing for you to sit across from him. Apologize for the short notice, he begins. His face is pale, his forehead sweaty, and wrinkled with worry. Armitage, the head librarian of Miskatonic University and a former mentor of yours, privately contacted you in the hopes of gaining your assistance. Eager to help, you make your way to his home in Southside. Upon entering, you are surprised to find him in his home in disarray. Books and notes litter his desk, and an empty bottle of wine is tipped over onto the ground by the fireplace. You'd always known Armitage to be neat and well organized. The elderly man takes a moment to collect his thoughts. I am looking for 2 of my colleagues, Dr. Francis Morgan, a professor of archaeology, and Warren Rice, professor of languages. Warren was supposed to meet up with me over supper earlier today to discuss several important findings, but he has since gone missing. At first I thought nothing of it, but I have a nagging feeling something else going on. A very familiar feeling. You've never seen Armitage quite this worried before. His hands tremble as you reach for the glass on his desk, and he sips from it nervously. I tried to find Francis, hoping he knew where Warren was, but he too is out of touch. Francis has been spending a lot of time at the gambling den, or so I'm told. I sent for you because I'm worried Warren might be in trouble. I would appreciate it greatly if you could help me help find him for me. You may also wish to ask Francis for help if you can reach him. Oh, Brendan, yeah. Go to bed. If it's 3 a.m., you should go to bed. But sounds good. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we now have to make a choice. Either going to the Miskatonic University or going to the Clover Club first. And I'm going to go... let's go talk to him. Proceed with scenario 1B, the house always wins if you wish to find Dr. Francis Morgan first. So we skip all of this. Oh wait, that's too far. House always wins. Dr. Alberta suggests you track down his associate, Dr. Francis Morgan. He's not sure whether Dr. Morgan is in trouble, but he's not particularly happy with his colleague's present choice of company. He's in the Clover Club, a notorious gambling joint somewhere downtown. Finding the club's exact location isn't easy. You have to grease a few palms just to learn which of the downtown restaurants operate as the club's front. That restaurant is La Bella Luna's, somewhat upscale Italian eatery by the theater. You change into your Sunday's best and make your way there. In front of the La Bella Luna stands a man in a pinstripe suit who sizes you up as you approach. Enjoy yourself, he says with a snake-like grin as he holds open the restaurant's front door. Now, before we do setup, we of course have to draw our opening hand. You can see, here's my basic weakness. So we get to redraw that first. Oh, actually, there's also the signature weakness. Redraw that. Well, this is not the best opening hand I've ever seen. In fact, it is far from it. Now, knowing what I know about the scenario, getting clues was a bit unusual here. Because there's all the gambling going on. Oh, I guess I should mention that. If you are trying to avoid Dunwich Legacy spoilers and going into the campaign blind, stop watching now. I'm going to start playing the scenario, so I'm about to start spoiling stuff for you. I would like to keep this perception. I think, if I remember correctly, there's a clue here we can probably get with it. Neither in the Snow is pretty good, but this scenario doesn't have a lot of tests on skill tests, or on treachery cards, so I'm going to avoid that. I think I'm just going to avoid all of it. I'm just going to draw a couple more new cards. Okay, let's put these back and see what we drew into. So we drew into our second Survival Instinct. This card's, I think, pretty important, especially for later scenarios. Being able to move away from enemies as you evade them is pretty tech, and I think this card is pretty underrated from what I can tell. Like, not a lot of, I don't see it in a lot of lists, but I think just like a free move, it's basically a shortcut. Which, sure, it's a little bit more narrow than a shortcut, but like, oftentimes the scenarios where you want to get rid of or get away from something are the ones where you want a free move. So, and then we have, look what I found. The card's great. Not as great here because this specifically gets 2 clues. And we haven't gotten a chance to upgrade into the level 2 version yet, which gives clues from multiple places, which is one thing I'm definitely planning on doing. So this is a pretty expensive way to get a single clue right now, but it is still a way. And then we have the Derringer, expensive gun, but it does do the trick. And the Fire Axe, which is another weapon. And I just so happened to notice that somebody joined the chat. A solo weakness for Pete Rides Again. 1 player, everything released, but no multiplayer weaknesses because they are playing through solo. Sounds good. Let me get you an internal injury. I guess that's not super visible. Let me jump to the other camera real quick. Internal injury. That's your weakness, Preeny Wizard. Hope you got that. Back to tabletop. Alright, so now we go to the scenario setup. We have our opening hand. We get all the encounter sets, well, that's already done. We put locations into play. We have a couple of different locations. We have La Bella Luna. La Bella Luna was a multi-purpose establishment. The Clover Club Lounge, comfortable leather couches, mahogany furniture, and an array of beautiful art greets gamblers, tempting them into the life of would-be affluent. Clover Club Bar, the shelves behind the bar sag beneath the wave of all the matter of bootleg drinks, cheap ales, moonshine, expensive bottles of wine, aged whiskey, if only you had a couple hours to kill. And the Clover Club card room, as you approach the card room, the clinking of poker chips and the shuffling of cards is punctuated by the shouts of revelry and frustration. Your thoughts are nearly drowned out by the racket. Put the Clover Club Pit Boss into play in the lounge. Put a bunch of cards into play and shuffle the encounter deck. And then there's some text about the agenda card, but we'll talk about that later. The Pit Boss, 3/4/3, a humanoid, criminal, and elite. He preys on the highest intellect. Well, that's always going to be us. Hunter, forced after an investigator at his location, gets any number of clues, he readies, engages them, and makes an immediate attack. And he hits for 2, which is pretty nasty, but he does also have a victory point, so we might want to kill him. Unfortunately, Agenda 1A, the Clover Club. We've entered the Clover Club Casino in search of Dr. Morgan. The club is bustling at this late hour, filled with patrons looking to relax and drink or make it big. You don't appear to be in much danger, because each criminal enemy gains aloof, but forced if an investigator deals damage to a criminal enemy, immediate advance. We don't want to start a fight in here. And then beginner's luck. You need to find Dr. Morgan. The club is packed. Perhaps somebody knows where he is. Reaction. When you reveal a Chaos token, you may treat the token as if it were any other token in the Chaos bag. If you do, remember that you have cheated. Group limit once per round. Objective. When the investigators have collected the requisite number of clues, they must immediately spend them and advance. And the requisite number of clues is 4. Finally, the scenario token card. -2, you may spend 2 resources to treat this token as a 0 instead. -3, if you succeed, gain 3 resources. And a tablet, which isn't in the Chaos bag. -2, if you fail, discard 3 resources. Which I believe should be lose 3 resources. But, you know, this is early Dunwich and they didn't quite have all the rules figured out yet. Alright, so let's get started. We need to find 4 clues before we can go anywhere else. And we flip La Bella Luna. Action, resign. This was a bust. Well, that's a quick way of doing things, I suppose. 1 clue, 2 shrouds. The music is cliche and they only serve spaghetti. As far as covers for underground speakeasies goes, it's not particularly creative. Well, so I could just investigate here. It's only difficulty 2, so I can guarantee look what I found. But I'd like not to spend 2 resources immediately, so I'm gonna give this a shot. It might backfire, but with this perception and my base intellect of 2, my odds are pretty decent. I just need to draw -2 or better. And I draw +1. Perfect. So I succeed. I'm gonna draw a card, and I'm gonna pick up this clue. That's first action. Well, let's see what the place is about. Let's move in. Second action, move. 2 shroud, 0 clues, and a action discard. While it is Act 1, Clover Club Lounge gains action. Discard an ally asset from your hands to gain 2 clues from the token pool. Limit once per game. Now, if this were multiplayer, then every investigator could do that once, but unfortunately, we're solo. On top of that, we also have a little bit of an issue here where this guy, even though he has aloof because of the agenda card, he does have hunter. So if we move now and then we get clues, he's gonna run after us and hit us. So if we stay here, he actually, is about to hunt towards where we already are, and then next turn we can move away safely. So instead of going anywhere, I'm gonna just draw another card. Take my time, slow down. I got an emergency cash. Not a card I'm particularly fond of, but it does help in this case because we might have to spend a lot of money gambling. Okay, so now we go to Upkeep. Well, first we go to Enemy Phase, but he doesn't really do anything. We go to Upkeep, draw a card, and draw a Test of Will. Play when Investigator Education draws a non-weakness treachery card. Test Willpower 3. Succeed, cancel the card's revelation effect. Tricky card to play, but I'm hoping to make it work. 1 doom on the agenda. And we run a counter card. A Swarm of Rats. 1/1/3 Hunter. Deals 1 damage. A horde of cruel rats skitters forth in an undulating wave of claws, teeth, and mottled fur. Of course, not the greatest threat, but kind of disgusting that there's rats in this casino, especially this many, because it's not just 1. Well, Stella has a bit of an upside here. She's 2 over punching, so that's already pretty decent. But more importantly, she also gets her action back if she should she fail. So I'm not going to commit anything, I'm just going to punch. Of course, I draw the -4, so I fail. Get my action back. Punch again. Fail again. That's unfortunate. Punch again, because I do have to kill this thing eventually. There it is. Okay, so the rats died, but unfortunately that cost me most of my turn. Oof. So instead of running along, I'm gonna stay here, do the same thing I did last turn with the pit boss. I'm just gonna gain some money, playing this emergency cash last action to gain 3 resources. Not the best turn, but I did draw a couple of bad tokens in a row, so, could have been worse, could have been worse. We got Upkeep. We're pretty rich right now, we have 10 resources, which is a lot. Let's hope we can turn those into clues. Doom on, and encounter card is a Abandoned Stug. Fortunately, it gains aloof from the agenda card, so it doesn't engage me. Are we going to have a problem here? No, we're not. We're just going to leave him here. Move to... So this is interesting. I could go to the bar, because the bar is a surefire way to get some clues, but it also has some downsides, and it also makes me draw cards. But right now I'm kind of stuffed on cards, so I think I'm going to start gambling first. So first action, move here. 3 Shrouds, 0 Clues. While it is Act 1, the Clover Club card room gains action. Spend 2 resources to reveal a random Chaos token. If it's a Elder Sign token, gain 2 clues and 2 resources from the token pool. If it's an even number, gain 2 clues from the token pool. If it is an odd number or a special symbol, nothing happens. Frank is very excited about Stella. Yes, you should be. So there's a couple of things I could do here. I could actually investigate here, throw in the stake heart to basically spend an action to draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources, but then also to get the action back. Looking at my hand though, I already have 7 cards in hand. I don't think I want to be drawing more cards. So I'm gonna go without. It's worth saying I have Rabbit's Foot in this deck, and I really would like to have Rabbit's Foot early, but I think looking at the agenda, I know that after this advances, the enemies no longer have Aloof, and I kind of would like to be gone before that happens. So, second action, I'm going to be spending 2 resources to reveal a random Chaos token. So I could do the cheating thing, but I know that I don't want to cheat. Let's not cheat here. So, this is an odd token, nothing happens. I'm going to try again. Pull this back, draw another token. That's a -2, perfect. I will gain 2 clues from the token pool. Sorry, if that's a little fast, I'll apologize, I'll go back. So you spend the resources and reveal a random token. If it is an even number, get 2 clues. So, nice. I have 3 of the needed 4 clues now. I'll stack them a little bit so it's easier to see how many I have. And that's my turn. In the enemy phase, the pit boss does follow me. You go to Upkeep. Draw an Overpower, almost as if we're about to have to go start fighting, which is very true. And then we go to Mythos. Doom on. Encounter card. Hunt it down. If there are no unengaged criminals in play, it gains search. Well, there are. If there are 1 or more unengaged criminals in play, each of them moves 1 location towards you. Then each criminal that engages you as a result of this effect makes an immediate attack. This card's hilarious, because what's about to happen is this. This guy is going to move here, because there is a move happening. And then everyone that engages me as a result of the effect makes an immediate attack. But they don't, because they all have Aloof from the agenda card. So this card doesn't surge, because people did move, and there are unengaged criminals, but they also don't attack me, so that's a freebie. But now I do have to make some choices, because optimally I would like to fight these guys not at the same time, like fight them 1 at a time. But if I move anywhere else, hunters are going to be a problem. That being said, I think I know what to do here. So first up, I'm going to move to the bar. The bar has 3 Shrouds, 0 clues, and while it's Act 1, I can spend 2 resources to get a drink. Gain 2 clues, draw 2 cards, and remember that I have had a drink. Next, I'm going to play my gun. Smuggle this Derringer into the casino. And then I'm also going to investigate. Sorry, the autosave is going to create a little bit of lag. So I'm investigating at my 3rd action. Shroud is 3, and I'm going to commit this stake heart. Elder Sign. I will choose... It could be a +1, in which case I would pass, but I don't want to pass. So instead I will automatically fail. Heal a damage and horror I don't have, but I auto-fail. So I draw 2 cards, gain 2 resources, and get an action back. Which is what I really wanted. Okay, so I got this Mysterious Raven, which you can discard to get clues at my location. Seems very good for solo. I also have this Fire Axe. Maybe that's good, but I already have a gun out, so I think I'm just going to spend my last action to play the Raven. Also has a Horror Soak, which may be relevant. And now we have 7 cards in hand, so that's good for when we go into Upkeep. So we go to enemy phase. This guy doesn't have Hunter, so he stays here. The pit boss does have Hunter. He moves here. We draw. There's the Rabbit's Foot. Excellent. Sorry, this token automatically flips because of the way Upkeep button is programmed, but it's not supposed to. That one represents the bonus action I get from Stella's ability. We go to Mythos and we advance.
On the right track. Your questioning has drawn the attention of several men, hired thugs by the look of them. Francis doesn't want to be bothered, one of them says. We suggest you leave the premises before we force you to leave. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. If I've completed the other scenario, we immediately advance to the next agenda. Otherwise, we advance to the back of the next agenda. Otherwise, we advance to the front of the next agenda. Underground Missile. Most of the other patrons seem oblivious to the mobsters and goons closing in around you, but you recognize for what this really is. You're about to get roughed up. So these go back in. This guy now no longer has a aloof, because notably that ability is now gone. And that means that he's now ready to engage with me, and I have to kill him. But we also have to draw an encounter card. Hunt it down. So this is worse timing. Guess I got away with it once, but not again. So there is an unengaged criminal in play. It's the Obedient Thug. So he's going to move to me, and he's going to make an immediate attack, which is painful because he has 2 damage hits. So, oof. Alright, well, actually, well, hold on. Before we do that, let me back up that real quick, because I do have a lot of money, and I have this Test of Will. Now, you might be asking, rightfully so, why would you play a Test of Will when you only have willpower 3? You probably fail. Well, it does give me a bonus action if I fail, and I'm hoping not to fail any of the combat tests, so I'm kind of tempted to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So before I resolve this revelation effect, I'm going to play Test of Will, try to cancel it. -1, I do not cancel it, but I do get an extra action. I think that's worth it. It was worth it for the try at least, so this guy does engage me, he does punch me. And now we have to get to work. Okay, so first off, let's shoot Mr. Big Guy over here, because he's got victory points and we want those. It's going to be a full campaign, and I want those experience points. First saying that while the Obedient Thug is engaging me, I can't get any money, so let's not have that happen for too long. So I'm going to be shooting with the Derringer. Action, spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 combat and +1 damage. If I fail, put the ammo back on the Derringer. And I'm throwing in this overpowered, so I am at 3, +2, plus another 2, is 7 versus 3. This should be good enough. And it is good enough. So I'm going to do 2 damage here. I'm going to draw a card from Overpower. Oh, and that is lovely. Live and Learn, one of the best cards in Stella, probably. I would go into more detail, but I'm sure that I'll have plenty of chances to show it off later, so I'm not that worried about it. I'm going to shoot again with the Derringer. No overpower this time, but we'll be fine. So I could throw in this Fire Axe, but if this shot misses, or rather, if the shot hits, then I'm going to be out of ammo on the Derringer, so I'd like to have a backup weapon. And there's Old Faithful, the autofill. Now, if I fail, I get my ammo back. What's more, I can now, well, I said there were going to be good chances, and here it is. After a skill test I failed ends, I'm going to just try the test again. I get +2 skill value for this test. And here's something very tricky, because I use this Derringer, right? And so the skill test I'm repeating is the Derringer shooting test. So this attack still does +1 damage. But what's more, when I fail the test, I put the ammo back on, which I've already done. So if I hit now, I don't need to put an extra, or I don't need to spend the ammo from the Derringer. And if I miss, I believe I get to put another ammo on the Derringer. So it actually just reloads the Derringer. Attacking at 7 again, -2. He only has 4 HP, so the pit boss is defeated. Which is a victory point. The first of hopefully quite a couple, because Dunwich is not that good on VP. But that one's going into the victor's play. Now I have 2 actions left. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have to get a little bit tricky for it. I'm going to try to evade this Obedient Thug. And I'm going to go commit this Manual Dexterity. So we're at 6 versus 2. Elder Sign. Now, while I'd love to get a little bit of heal, I do actually need this test to pass. So I'm just going to pass. Draw a card and evade him. And then for my last action, I'm going to spend 2 resources to quickly get 2 clues and draw 2 cards. So spend 2 clues, draw 2 cards. And I draw a weakness. I'll get to the weakness in a second, because first off, when I have the requisite number of clues, I must immediately spend them and advance. So I have 4 clues. Those are going to get spent. High Roller. After speaking to a number of gamblers and servers, it seems as though Dr. Morgan has a had quite a run lately. Instead of cashing out his winning, he was convinced to double down. He was last seen entering the guarded hall near the back of the card room. Put a set-aside Darkened Hull into play, and if it's agenda 1, we have to spawn a criminal enemy. Well, we don't. So we go find ourselves a Darkened Hull. It goes over here. And then Act 2A, Skin Game. Dr. Morgan is somewhere in the private section of the club, where only VIPs and the club's managers are allowed. If you are to find him, you're going to have to sneak or even fight your way in. Only investigators in the VIP area may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, which is 2. Not that many. Okay, so we're saying that was my last action, to get a drink. It's also worth that I need to remember that I've had a drink. And so now the enemy phase happens. Oh wait, I should also talk about Call by the Mist real quick. Put it in the player threat area. After I initiate a skill test with a difficulty of 4 or higher, I take a damage, double action declared. This is fine now. There's probably going to be a point that this deck has a bit more ability to manipulate difficulties, make them higher or lower, at which point this card becomes more problematic because higher difficulty tests start occurring more often. But right now I'm mostly trying to get by on low difficulty skill tests, so probably a little bit less painful. Regardless, we go to Upkeep. This guy ready and engages me. And then, well, we draw on emergency cash. Well, we can't... actually, I don't get a resource here because of the text on the Obine stuck. And he engaged me before the resource and Upkeep. And now we go to Mythos Phase. So we've got only a couple of more turns before this advances, so probably hurry. Fortunately, we have an ace up our sleeve. First up we encounter a Twist of Fate. Reveal a random token from the Chaos bag. Well, let's hope we get lucky. We do not, in fact, get lucky. Take 2 horror. If you reveal a cultist token, the bottom one, take 2 horror. Alright, now fortunately, I brought just the trick to deal with this guy. I'm going to evade him, and I'm going to commit Survival Instinct. If this skill test is successful during an evasion attempt, the evading investigator may immediately disengage from each other enemy engaged with him or her, and may move to a connection location. So the idea here is that he's only got an evade of 2, so I can move away and not bother. Of course, that's the problem with best laid plans, they don't always work. So even with the +1 agility from the Survival Instinct, I am 1 action short of actually, or 1 agility short of actually hitting that one. That was one of the 2 tokens in the bag that failed me. Everything else passed, so that's Arkham. Evade. Wow, okay. Evade again. I'm 4 against 2, by the way. Well, there it is. A bit late, but better late than never, I guess. And let's quickly move away before he readies up again. Okay, so that went from a turn where I got, 2 or 3 actions to do whatever I want, +1 evade, to 3 evades. So, that's great. But let's go to Upkeep. So what do you want to bet he comes back? Doom on the agenda. And counter cards. Another Twist of Fate. Okay. If I reveal a number token, take 1 damage. Sorry, I'm going a bit fast on this card. But basically, you reveal a random token and then you have a special effect based on what happens. Okay. So now we have to get... I'd like to get a little bit away from this thug. I'd like to get towards the Darkened Halls. I'd maybe like to get a little bit set up. The nice thing about the Derringer is because I did the trick, I don't actually have, I still have an ammo on it, so if I draw an enemy, I can at least shoot it once. So, yeah, first things first, we're going to move into the Darkened Hull. A heavy oak door stands in the secluded corner of the club. As you approach it, the air grows heavy and the clamor of the card room fades behind you. 4 shroud, 0 clues. Force, when Darkened Hull is revealed, put the 3 set aside back hall doorways, put into play the 3 set aside back hall doorway locations. Door slams shut behind you and you stand in sudden silence. This area of the club is lonesome and devoid of warmth and color. Somehow the spotless floor and walls seem more sinister than inviting. Dum dum dum. Put those a little bit further away. So we have 3 new locations. We don't know which one's which, but one of these presumably holds the secret to where the doctor is. Before we go in there though, I would like to get a little bit more set up, so I'm going to spend 1 action to play a rabbit's foot. I'm then going to investigate. Actually, if I investigate, I take a damage. Let me back up on that real quick. So the Shroud here is 4, which is great because it lets me take investigate tests that I'm probably going to fail. The downside is that if I take a difficulty 4 test, I'm going to take a damage. So the question is, do I want to trade 1 point of damage for a card and an action here? Probably not. Instead, I'm just going to play Emergency Cash, get some money, and hope I won't need that extra card. Okay, now this guy doesn't have Hunter, so he's just going to stay where he is. And I'm going to go my Upkeep draw. That's a really nice card. Neither Rain nor Snow. Thela's signature skill, it is really strong. Duma, we advance. Sudden chaos. You hear a crash from somewhere outside and screams of pain in the lounge. A terrible monstrosity smashes through the entrance to the club, crushing the stairwell and knocking over gangsters and patrons alike. Spawn a random enemy from the set-aside Hideous Abomination encounter set in the Clover Club Lounge. Shuffle the rest of the encounter set, the set-aside Striking Fear encounter set, and the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Move all investigators and unengaged enemies from La Bella Luna to the Clover Club Lounge. Remove La Bella Luna from the game. Now that's important because this, of course, had the Resign location. And now the Resign location is gone. No more resigning for us. Grab a random one of these. It is a conglomeration of spheres. Preys on the lowest willpower. Hunter. First, if you make an attack against the conglomeration using a melee card, discard that card. 1 and 1, it has 1 combat, 6 health, and 4 agility. So the rest of the set, plus Striking Fear, plus the discard pile, go into the encounter deck. And that's it. And then Agenda 3A, Chaos in the Clover Club. Amidst chaos and confusion, the strange abominations attack everyone in this club. Screams echo through the halls and blood begin to spray. Force, at the end of the enemy phase, discard each criminal enemy at the same location as an abomination enemy. Basically, the mobsters are going to have to fight the criminals. And we draw an encounter card. We draw Cursed Luck. -1 skill value during skill test. After you succeeded a skill test by 1 or more, discard Cursed Luck. This might actually help us. We don't always want to pass our tests. I'm going to move. Let's go see what's behind this doorway. Find the art gallery. Forced, if you fail skill test while investigating the art gallery, lose 2 resources. So, we have plenty of money. We have 7 resources, and I have this look what I found. So I think I'm just going to investigate here with perception. It's only difficulty 2. I'm at 3 thanks to the Cursed Luck, but also the perception. And it's kind of a it's kind of a win-win either way. If I fail, I have to spend a bunch of money, but then I can just look what I found, get the clue. And if I pass, well, then I just get the clue. Now there is a reason to maybe instead play a look what I found, or not play look what I found, commit to look what I found for 2 extra icons. But I kind of like to hedge my bets here. -2, I fail, which means I get an extra action, draw a card, lose 2 resources, spend another 2 resources to play look what I found. And if you think spending look what I found for a single clue is a waste, it sort of is, but this scenario doesn't have any locations that have multiple clues, so I don't think there's a lot of reasons not to do it. And I'm actually just going to spend the other 2 actions to discard my weakness. Reason for that is if I have to evade the conglomeration of spheres, I don't want to be taking 1 damage every time I have to do it. And likewise, like there are reasons to suddenly have to take 4 difficulty tests, and I don't want to be taking too much damage. Alright, go to enemy phase, the conglomeration is going to start hunting. Then we go to Upkeep. Draw the other weakness, Dark Pact. Well, there's a reason why I didn't want to be taking too much damage. Because if I can't deal 2 damage to myself, then I'm going to have to take the price of failure. Doom on, first out of 7. We got an encounter card. It is a mobster. 2/2/2. After it attacks you, lose a resource. He has Retaliate. Okay, now this is a good chance, I think, to try and get rid of this Cursed Luck. Because he only got 2 combat. I'm only at 2 combat, but with this Derringer shot and this Overpower, I'm at 6 combat versus his 2. -3. I succeed by 1. Cursed Luck is gone. The mobster is gone. And I get to draw a card from Overpower. That does mean my gun is now empty. fairly useless for dealing with bad guys. Okay, so I'm gonna move. I'm gonna be investigating here. Difficulty 4. -2. Well, I fail. I get the draw card, and I get an extra action. Nice. 3 actions. And then I'm going to move into the other back hall doorway. It's the back alley. Well, got them in a little bit of a wrong order here, but that's okay. Resign. We can get out of this way. 1 Shroud, 1 Clue, action to resign, and victory 1. Now this is widely known to be the worst designed victory location probably in the entire game. And there's a reason for that. So, in case you don't know how the exact rules for resigning and elimination work, when you resign, you drop all of your clues on your location. You can probably already tell where this is going. If you have any number of clues while you resign at the back alley, you drop those clues. You can't, and you can't get the victory point because then there's still clues on it when the scenario ends. So there are ways to get this victory point. They mostly involve either voluntarily taking a trauma, so you can, by basically letting yourself be defeated at another location, so you can drop your clues there, or by using a card like the rogue card, I'm out of here, which is in the card pool. So if you're playing a rogue, you should probably put that in there, which lets you resign from any location as long as there's a resign location in play. For me, though, it just means I can't get this victory point, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm not even going to bother picking up this clue because it doesn't do anything for me. That was my turn, though. So this nasty little ball of balliness is going to come closer. And upkeep. I am at hand size too, so we will still need this. So I'm going to discard this spare fire axe. Probably won't need it. And we go to Mythos. Second doom was 7. Another Twist of Fate. Alright, well, nothing to be done about it. Reveal number, take your damage. The grind is happening. It's not going too fast though, so I think we're fine. Well, first action, let's move back to this. Now the conglomeration is here. I'm going to invade it, or engage it, and I'm immediately going to try to evade it. Commit neither rain nor snow. 3 wild icons. Should get the job done. And they do. I'm going to investigate here. Might as well. Fail. Get the draw card with Rabbit's Foot, and then get an extra action. And that last action I will use to move into the VIP area. The coppery smell of blood assaults your senses. The floor is littered with broken glass and the upholstery has been torn to shred. Where is Dr. Morgan? 3 Shroud, 1 Clue, victory 1. And I'm going to, before my turn ends, free trigger, discard it, take a horror, discover a clue at your location. And now, because I have 2 clues, actually I have more than 2 clues, but I did want to get that victory point, I'm going to advance the act. Dr. Morgan's Fate. If the players have not completed extracurricular activity, you find Dr. Morgan gambling in one of the VIP rooms, but he appears to be playing cards with 2 unconscious bodies, his pupils dilated as though in a trance. He can't seem to stop laughing, smiling, and chatting with the other players. Put the set aside Dr. Morgan into the VIP area, and advance to Act 3A, all in. The other one is not relevant for us. With or without Dr. Morgan, you have to get out of here. Fast. While Dr. Morgan is not controlled by a player, he gains Action, Parlay. Test Willpower 3 to shake Dr. Morgan out of his daze. If you succeed, place a clue from the token bank on him. If there's a clue on Dr. Morgan, take control of him. If each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. Alright. So now we know what we have to do. We have to get him, and then we have to get out. All this text doesn't really matter right now, but let's go to Upkeep. Ooh, that's a nice timing. A Test of Will. Conglomeration does ready, so we're going to be mauled by that thing in a bit. Something in the drink. Oh no. Every player who has had a drink, which includes Stella, loses an action. There go all my plans. And then there's a swarm of rats. That's even worse. Okay. Yeah, so I'm in a bit of a pickle here because obviously what I want to be doing is parlaying Dr. Morgan. Now I have Fine Clothes, I also just have a Guts, so like 3 willpower, throw in the Guts, maybe it just works. I don't want to take too much damage because there's already an enemy on me. There's also the next the enemy phase, I'm probably gonna have to deal with this conglomeration somehow. But Dr. Morgan actually has 4 health, so if I can grab him, then I don't have to worry about damage anymore. So I'm gonna take a bit of a risky play here. I'm gonna take an action to parlay. Oh wait, I just remembered. Parlay actions don't provoke attack opportunity, so this is less risky than I thought. Test willpower 3. Basically, if I succeed, I take control of it, because there's only one player. I'm gonna commit this Guts. I'm also gonna commit this Rabbit's Foot, because I don't need to. Which will put me at 3 over. I'm gonna commit this Test of Will. I don't want to fail on the -4. Cultist, -3. If you succeed, gain 3 resources. Yes, please. Actually, I just now realized, while you're in the VOP area, you don't draw cards or gain resources during the upkeep phase. So I'm not supposed to have this, and I'm not supposed to have 1 less resource because I hit the upkeep button. But even then, I still succeed. So now I draw this card. I still get the 3 resource from here. And this happens, right? This is Arkham. Sometimes you just accidentally, whoops, I wasn't supposed to have that card yet. It's fine. It doesn't disqualify you from playing in the play along, trust me. I do it all the time. By accident, but it still happens. Okay, now there's a swarm of rats here. I'm going to punch him. I get +1 combat from Morgan, and if I defeat an enemy, I can exhaust him to draw a card. So that's pretty sweet. Elder Sign. I'm going to fail. So I choose to automatically fail this test. Heal a damage and a horror, which was kind of needed at this point. And then draw a card with the Rabbit's Foot. And get an extra action thanks to my ability. So that was a really lucky Elder Sign. And now I'm just going to punch again. Rabbit's Foot, Sorrow Rats dies. Draw a card with Morgan. Alright, that was really good. Enemy phase, slightly less good. The conglomeration comes in here, attacks, deals a damage and a horror, but fortunately we did just kind of deal with that thanks to the Elder Sign. We go to Upkeep. Oh wait, no, we don't draw cards and resources in Upkeep. Remember this time, but we do ready our cards. And I do have to check for hand size, which is 1 in excess. I'm going to discard this old keyring. We don't need clues anymore. We just need to get out at this point. So we go to Mythos Phase. Do 1, 4 out of 7. And there's the second conglomeration. Oh no! Oh no! This is bad. Or is it? How bad is this? So, realistically speaking, I could probably evade 1 or both of them. What I really need to do is get a little bit of space to run away with. Because I want to get... Basically what I need to do is move, resign, and I also want to play Dark Pact before then. So I'm probably taking 2 rounds to do all this. The first action, I'm going to try to evade here. I'm going to commit a Night Rain or Snow, which is 3 wild icons, and hope for the best. That's about the best. Second action, okay, now it's the one that really matters. Evade here. I'm at 4 versus 4, which is not great. I'm going to commit this Fine Close. That's the best I can do here. It's 1 over. -4, not good enough. But I do get an extra action, and I do get to draw a card. It's a Mysterious Raven. That doesn't really help here. Now, here we have to make an important choice. How many attacks can we survive? Because what happens if I just run for the exit, basically? Well, move. It's 2 damage and 2 horror. That doesn't kill me. Then I have to survive another turn. Or then it makes an attack an enemy phase, which is then 3 damage and 3 horror total. I'm still not dead. And then I play Dark Pact, 4 damage and 4 horror. That doesn't kill me because I can put 1 of the damage on Dr. Francis Morgan. Should be fine. But I am at 7 horror at that point. And I do have to put 2 damage on Francis Morgan, which puts me at basically the max damage and horror that I can take before dying. So if I take any damage or horror from my encounter card, I lose the game. I don't want to get down to that situation. So I'm going to try evading again. I'm going to commit Take Heart. If this does end up failing, at the very least, I'll get some more cards and resources to hopefully have something to do. -3. That doesn't do it. 2 cards, 2 resources. But that's basically what we need. Okay. So, slightly weird play maybe, but I'm actually going to just take a move action, which provokes an attack opportunity. And if you're wondering why would you take an attack here? If I don't leave, this thing is going to ready up. I'm going to have to evade it again. This way, it's still going to hunter me next turn, but I don't have to fight both of them at the same time, which is better. I'm going to take another attack. Okay, so, sorry. We're going to enemy phase. This guy's still exhausted. This guy attacks me for 1-1. Then we go to Upkeep, everything ready, so I do get my Upkeep, finally. Then I have to check for hand size, which is a lot. Well, actually, it's only 1 card. And we go to Mythos. Okay, so we're running out of time, 5 out of 7. Cursed Luck. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Guess I could have gotten away with it if I just ran for it. But, you know, play safely. Netheriter Snow. Let's just do Netheriter Snow. The problem is, if I run Autofill here and I commit both of them, then I just lose the game, basically. Because I have no way of dealing with it. So, -2. Perfect. I do have -1 skill value, so that actually only passes by 1. Or passes by 0, rather. But it does pass. Move. And then stab Dr. Francis Morgan. I have made a pact, and unfortunately, Dr. Morgan is gonna get stabbed. Okay, go to Upkeep. Now, as a reminder, this clue here doesn't matter because if I pick it up, I'm just gonna have to drop it again when I resign. So there's no way for me to get this victory point. There's no way to get this victory point and also win the scenario. I could do it and then just lose, but don't want to do that. And for my last action last treachery, it is Frozen in Fear, which we don't care about. So for our first action, we resign, dropping our clue on the location, and we got out. The spheres are so conglomerating, yes. Are they conglomerating together, or is it still 2 distinct conglomerations over here? Objective is each undefeated investigator has resigned. Advance. Safe for now. You escape the club, doing your best to look inconspicuous as several cars pull up near the street. A handful of grim-faced men and women exit, running towards the restaurant's entrance to take control of the situation. One of them catches your eye, his hand on the grip of his .38, but thankfully he turns his attention back to the rest of his crew and follows them into the club. You breathe a sigh of relief. If we resigned with Dr. Francis Morgan under his or her control, Resolution 2. What in the world? Dr. Morgan finally breaks out of his haze as you make your way to safety. You ask him what he remembers, and he sputters and shakes his head. It's all a haze, he explains, visibly exhausted. I was having the run of my life. Perhaps I had one too many shots. But those creatures... I haven't seen anything like that since... He trails off, and you can tell his mind is racing. His eyes widen with the realization his face builds. I may not be in the best shape, but I'll help with your investigation. Whatever it takes. In your campaign log, record that the O'Banion gang has a bone to pick with the investigators. In your campaign log, record that the investigators... rescue Dr. Francis Morgan. Any one investigator may choose to add Dr. Francis Morgan to his or her deck. Card does not count towards deck size. I will. If any player cheated, add an Elder Thing Tales token to the Chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. I did not. I spurned the temptation. We earn Victory X and then proceed to Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity. Well, Victory X, not that much. It is 3. So we're going to have to be looking at what I'm upgrading into. I don't get the back alley VP because there's clues there. Yeah, that went reasonably well. I think I played to the best of my ability, and I think I got out a bit in the nick of time, but I still got it. I got it. Before I go away, because I think I am about done streaming. It's been a hot minute since I was streaming. I do want to talk about a couple more things. So the first is the registration for your results. You can, in fact, register your results. It's currently a little bare bones. I might expand it a little bit later. I probably should. But if you give me a second, sorry, I have to open up the right form and get the things. How's everybody in the chat, by the way? Is everything easy to follow? Any questions? No questions? Checking here. Okay. So this is the registration for the scenario. So my team name is Ask Me About Stella. Doesn't matter if it's not perfectly capitalized or whatever. It's meant to help register, just for fun. I played it first. I got Resolution 2. See, this is the problem. I always forget which resolution I get, but yeah. How much experience? We got 3. Any other comments? Well, check out my playthrough on YouTube. on YouTube on until end of time. Submit, and there we go. Well, I think I'm about to wrap it up here, unless anybody else has any very pressing questions. If there are people who still want to draw their weaknesses. That's the wrong one. This was incredibly fun. I really enjoyed chatting, or having a little bit of chat interaction. I really enjoyed, in general, everybody showing up. Thank you very much if you showed up, if you watched. It was awesome. I'll probably be doing this again. I mean, I don't want to promise too much because I am a student. I do just have 40-hour awake studies, but this was super fun and not actually that hard to set up. So definitely tempted to do it again. Maybe just play all my scenarios up here. And yeah, I don't see any other questions, so mostly saying thank you for the stream, which agreed. Hope you all have a great weekend. If you do have any other questions, please go into the Discord. Discord.gg/mythosbuster should get you there. Otherwise, just ask around on anywhere and you'll probably find a link. I'm at Warren212 on the Discord. If you ask around any questions about the play along, I'll probably just hop in or get summoned there. This is going on for at least 8 weeks, where we'll do the entire Dunwich Legacy campaign. After that, who knows? I'm hoping to keep doing it. I think it's really exciting. I really love the community response so far. So, yeah, thank you. I don't have anything else to say. I guess I should finish with my sign-off, which is I'll be seeing you until the end of time. And have a great weekend.